Hey, hey! It's March 21st, which is springtime.
Springtime, first day.
First day of spring.
Nice.
All right. Let's do our daily.
Freshly shaved.
Nice.
Fresh
yeah.
shirt. Spring. All of that
Springtime.
stuff.
It's raining outside.
Excellent.
New life. Here we go. The best retreat is in here, not out there.
Kind of short. Is that it?
That's the whole thing.
That's the whole thing, including Ryan.
That's just our title. That's
just
not
the
even
title.
our quote yet.
That's not. I'm like, okay, that's a long.
That's not our
quote.
quote, right?
So it's a long title.
The
And
best
short.
retreat is in here, not out there.
Mhm.
Okay, let's see what they mean.
Mhm.
Marcus Aurelius has a quote for us today. People seek retreats for themselves in the country, by the sea, or in the mountains. You are very much in the habit of yearning for those same things. But this is entirely the trait of a base person. When you can, at any moment, find such a retreat in yourself. For nowhere can you find a more peaceful and less busy retreat than in your own soul, especially if on close inspection it is filled with ease, which I can say is nothing more than being well ordered. Treat yourself often to this retreat and be renewed.
Yeah, that's cool. That makes sense. So yeah, I see it like almost like a meditation, like like go into a retreat into yourself, because that's where it's most peaceful, or could be most peaceful, right? Like if you're going on an actual retreat, like that's filled with all of these actions that you have to do, right? Get on the plane, all of that stuff, right? And then and the value you get out of it maybe is valuable, but going in here is like maybe it seems like it's harder than going on an actual retreat, but ultimately it's much easier to go into yourself and kind of look for the calmness in there or something, and that's where you get the retreat in the way that like you come back relaxed and rejuvenated, renewed. Yeah.
Retreat, yeah, almost as if, because now my brain wants to go to process, like how does one do something like that? And then I'm interested in the word, that makes me interested in the word retreat, which I don't know exactly like what the dictionary definition says about it, but it's like to pull back from something. And you were saying like, you know, you can go to the country, the sea, the mountains, you have to participate in some action. You're like pushing something forward. And so like a retreat is like to like pull away from something. I guess what they're talking about with retreat into the mountains is you're pulling away from your like daily grind and your habits. But you can even pull back from the action you would be taking on those retreats in the mountain, the sea, all that busyness.
Yeah, because you essentially is like you retreat by being busy with something else.
Right. So there's like layers of the retreat.
That's why maybe it's like it's not as
hectic.
No, it's not as restful when you come back from some of these vacations or like some of these retreats. You come back and you're like, what? I feel
I need
like
a vacation
more
from
vacation, right? Like that's where it
yeah.
comes from. Like you're not actually relaxing. You're just exchanging one business for another business, and that in and of itself is probably somewhat of like relaxing, right? Like you get some sort of a benefit of like now have to shift into this other thing, but you do not get this like complete rejuvenation from it. You know, you come back and you seek another break from that break, essentially, which was not really a break.
Yeah, so it's then like that final layer of retreat, which is I need to actually pull out of the action of doing anything and sit still in myself. And then I'm still interested in the process. I'm sure that there's like many paths that you can take that would.
So now that you choose to like, okay, like I want to go and meditate, like how I would do that, right? Like what's the procedure? What is the process?
Right.
Yeah.
Because he's saying in here, like, especially if on close inspection it is filled with ease, like you retreat into your soul and then, you know, it's so much more peaceful, less busy, especially if on close inspection it is filled with ease, which I say is nothing more than being well ordered. So there's a lot of stuff in there then to unpack. Because he's saying a retreat into your soul is peaceful, especially if that whole ecosystem is calm or well ordered. Like that's when that retreat into yourself is a very peaceful thing.
The well ordered might be the kind of the output of that. Like I'm reading it, or like I'm hearing it, like being well ordered. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Because I was thinking of like that's the like by going into yourself, into the peacefulness, it is part of being well ordered.
I think what you're saying is correct. I think,
but there is also
where
this
I'm
other point that you're making.
like the where my primary interest at the moment is like when you go into this peaceful place inside of yourself, that place is not so obvious for like me, for example, or I think for a lot of people, you know, like people have issues when they sit and meditate, feeling anxious, feeling kind of pulled around by their thoughts. And so to many people, they think about meditation or a retreat into oneself not as this calm thing. And also, like even what Marcus is saying, especially if on close inspection it is filled with ease, those people, when they're going inside of themselves, it's not filled with ease. It's chaotic. It's not well ordered. So then it matters how you retreat into yourself so that you can actually get the benefits of that calmness versus the other experience that you can have that's a little bit more chaotic.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And so I'm interested in like how you can kind of move from in between those, you know, like, and that's I think where my question about process is, because it's like it's the how to retreating in yourself in a peaceful way, in a well-ordered way, rather than a chaotic way. And I suppose it probably has something to do with what we've been talking about in days previous, with really like taking ownership of the things that you can control, like your perspectives and the things that you think and the things that you say and the actions that you take. If you start to order that stuff, it may be that when you sit down to retreat and meditate, it feels like a more ordered environment without you doing anything special during the meditation.
Yeah, maybe it's like going to like an actual retreat, right? Like there's like you have to pack your bags, you have to get on you have to get on a plane, you have to organize everything. There's this like work or something that's like I'm not retreating yet. I'm not on vacation yet, right? I'm going there. There's all of this efforting that needs to happen. And so before I can relax on the beach somewhere, right? So I'm seeing this similarly, like going inside. There is some efforting that's going to happen when you're just starting, right? Like because you're gonna go in and there's all these thoughts and there's all this stuff, and you might be like, well, where is this beach? Where am I relaxing in here when this is filled with all of these thoughts and ideas and all of this stuff, right? So, and the idea is that like, yeah, that's the efforting, and the more you're sitting in it and just observing it and trying to get yourself to come back to just observation versus going into those train of thoughts, the more you start like experiencing the relaxation sensation.
So you're saying that the process would be to sit and accept the feeling of effort, and while you're sitting, you are training your attention to notice when you have gone down a rabbit hole, and then saying, okay, I just noticed I went down a rabbit hole. Let me bring it back to some sort of object, like a breath, or
breath could be short. Breath could be that, or just kind of like, oh, I'm not on the train of thought, or like I'm not deep in some sort of a train of thought. I'm in this space where the thoughts can arise, but I'm not in them, right? So I'm trying to bring myself back to that space where I'm not in the train of thought, right? And then 10 seconds later, something happens, and I'm starting to think about something, and I'm going on the train of thought, and maybe
sooner than 10 seconds for sure.
Sure,
for me, like.
sure. I'm just giving an example, and then 20 seconds later, or a minute later, or 10 minutes later, you go, hey, wait, what? I'm not trying to sit here and go on this train of thoughts. It's okay that it happened, but what I'm trying to do is being back in here where this train of thoughts could begin, but I'm not gonna take the train. And if I find myself on the train, I'm not gonna punish myself for being on it. I'm just saying to myself, like, oh, hey, here's another one I jumped on unknowingly. When did that happen? Well, it must have happened at some point. It's okay. Let's go back.
Yeah, I will say that is
Breath
that is my current
be,
process
sure,
when we meditate every morning. And I definitely see value in that. I haven't been doing it long enough to like really know what the long-term payoff is going to be. But I can't really put into words right now what I feel the benefits are. It's just more of like a visceral thing at the moment. But I am curious, when people, like Marcus is talking about this retreat into oneself, he's clear on sort of like, what that environment would be like to produce this like peace, but he's not clear on like the steps that he takes, the process he goes through to actually go on a retreat, an inner retreat like that. So
there are many ways of getting there.
Yeah,
so
there's many paths. I would be curious. I'm always curious to know like how the sausage is being made, essentially. Yeah.
But the sausage is you're noticing that, wow, I am just so relaxed in here in this space, and I'm not really thinking about anything. I'm just kind of here in this meditation. Like that's the sausage, right? How do you get to the sausage is many different recipes, right? But the sausage itself
Yeah,
is the
I understand for sure. There's many paths.
I have an experience of like wow, I'm noticing that I'm so like relaxing, or like it just feels like very like effortless. There's also maybe sometimes like we just kind of, I feel this like this dropping of some sort of a weight or something, like the weight is dropping off or something, some sort of a, yeah, it just feels relaxing, yeah, a retreat like. Yeah.
Cool. You want to read Ryan?
Let's do it.
Do you have a vacation coming up? Are you looking forward to the weekend so you can have some peace and quiet? Maybe you think, after things settle down or after I get this over with. But how often has that ever actually worked? The Zen meditation teacher John Kabat-Zinn coined a famous expression, wherever you go, there you are. We can find a retreat at any time by looking inward. We can sit with our eyes closed and feel our breath go in and out. We can turn on some music and tune out the world. We can turn off technology or shut off those rampant thoughts in our head. That will provide us peace, nothing else.
Yeah, so that's kind of a little how-to as well. Like shutting down your devices and having your eyes closed. Music is tough for me because I would just start thinking about the music. So I would actually find myself like, hey, which chord is that? Where is that going?
Yeah, well, and it's weird, like,
So
as
I
I'm
think,
reading
like,
these different examples, it's like we can turn on some music and tune out the world. Like, that to me feels like a state of, like, being in flow or something like that. You know, like when you're, and that's like a really healthy, positive state to be in, the state of flow, and we should be trying to be in more of it more of the time. Feels like more active, like I'm engaged with something. Versus,
yeah, flow would be like you are active in some way, like you're running or swimming or doing something, and then you're in this flow.
But you're like merged with the present moment in terms of,
or painting or some activity. Right?
You don't think about time, like there's no clocks, there's no past, there's no future, there's just presence, and I'm here and I'm in this, and like we're almost in this dance together. And so maybe that's one thing that they're talking about here, like that's one type of retreat.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's this other type of retreat that's more of like the kind of like the maintenance, like the personal maintenance kind of retreat, which is like stop, close your eyes, and train your attention to come back to something. Because otherwise, when it's difficult, because in flow it's so easy to pay attention to something, like your attention is just there, you're in it, you know. But then there's these other times in life where we have to call upon our attention to pay attention to something that's not interesting to us or that's difficult or challenging or something like that. And so a really big skill that we need to develop is this discipline of our attention, bringing our attention back to something. And in doing that, we see all of our thoughts, we see all of like the behavior that we want to do when the thoughts come through our space, and we're sitting there and we're like, well, I'm not doing that right now because I'm sitting here just letting the thought happen. And so that's like another kind of style of personal retreat that we can do every day, of silent sitting and some sort of meditation exercise. Whether it's guided, I think guided meditations probably do the same thing, because you're listening to something and your brain is going back to your schedule or back to your kids or your whatever, but then
You're bringing
bringing it back to the guide. So
yeah, it's about bringing it back. The bringing
it back
is the mechanism that you're training. And why should we train it? Well, because when you have a stressful situation, you want to bring that stressful situation back. And now, if you are not training this, if you're not training for it, and now you're like, okay, let's run a marathon, right, or a sprint, like you're gonna just be terrible at it, right? So you training, bringing yourself, not somebody else, yourself back from a stressful situations, right? And so when they're arising, you might not even involve yourself so deeply, because you're gonna understand, like, if I involve myself this deeply, I'm gonna then have to bring myself back. So perhaps I can observe that situation from a little further away, not getting myself so involved, therefore be more calm in that whole situation. And it's like helping you to like be in the world in a different way. Yeah.
Cool. So the best retreat is in here, not out there. It means we gotta be in flow, and we gotta do our silent sitting, our meditation.
You gotta be in the flow. Is hard to control.
Yeah.
Right.
So
it's like that's something like that's a goal, but gotta be would be like, well, that we have to achieve it or something like that. We might not achieve it, but the other point,
you can.
The meditation every day, daily, some sort of a thing that is controlled by us.
Yeah.
That's again going back a couple of days about what we have control or not. I have control to say I will carve out 20 minutes to sit down, to go on to this internal retreat.
And for the flow, I think it's more about like regularly doing things that you typically find yourself getting into a rhythm and a flow with. So like I know that's like yoga, writing, these types of things, and so I want to build my life around a lot of those activities. And then the numbers game is such that like I can't control if I'm going to be in flow today or not, but I know that I have 3 activities on my calendar that I typically experience flow in, and so hopefully I'll experience it once today, and if not, that's okay, because like we don't need it that much. Like a few times a week is probably really satisfying for it. But yeah, I mean, I would like to be in flow every day on something. My goodness.
And so then talking about flow, I would see it more like that's almost like you want to figure out what got you into flow when you were in flow. You want to kind of like reverse engineer it and say like, what did I do? Did I exercise this morning and then I went for a walk and then I started working and I felt in this flow?
Yeah.
Or what did I do, right? And so now you're kind of looking at those activities and trying to mimic that and say, hey, I'm going to have these 4 things before I'm going to try to do the work where I want to experience flow. These 4 things need to happen in a certain way, and so it's like you're almost setting up like a system before you start the engine type of a thing,
Yeah.
And then you're giving yourself the best chance to experience that flow in there,
Yeah, I love looking at it like that, and like it's kind of just ongoing experimentation where it's like a system, and you're always tweaking the system to get more of the outputs that you want from it.
Like optimizing it.
And it changes over time as our life changes and as we ebb and flow as people and things
it's never the same system.
It's never the same system. We're different every day. So, okay, this was cool. I feel like there's a couple of good actions here. Do things where I'm likely to feel in flow, and keep sitting every day and be bored if I'm going to be bored, and let my mind wander wherever and for however long it's going to do that. but just show up for it, because that's how it's going to get ordered, and there's going to be more peace there. And then I like what you were saying too about stress, and then how you end up involving yourself in stressful situations in the...
Yeah, the weird thing is it's like everyone have this like tendency to get very quick results, right? And meditation is kind of like it shows you every day that you're doing better, but it's so subtle. It's so subtle.
It's like
so
insignificant
subtle.
day over day.
But isn't life, that's how life works?
Yeah.
It's never with this one big bang thing. It's like incremental, small
self-improvement. Yeah, that's what's like
over a long period of time.
That's what's like kind of infuriating about it, is that our improvement is always in these like little bite-sized, chipping off at one bite at a time sort of things.
Yep.
But that negative change in circumstance can happen like that.
Compound interest.
Yeah.
Is the same exact thing. Compounding those little things every single day, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Overall, big, giant leaps forward, right? And you never make a giant leap forward in one day.
Right.
Unless you're like lucky or something, right? Like you
Win the lottery.
You win a lottery, or you...
But now your life just got a whole lot more complicated. Oh my god, lottery.
Good luck. Good luck with that luck.
Okay, see you here tomorrow.
Later.